Okay, here we are, rabbis. We're beginning. Whew. I made it for bringing last night. I made it for bringing for these motorcycle guys. There's a restaurant not far from Kfar Chabad. And there's all these Harley Davidson Israeli motorcycle fellows that come there. And they're all, big guys and with all this, but they're Jews, So I made it for bringing for them. Okay, ready? Let's see. All right, we're talking now. Here we have a very strange Torah portion. It's talking about this bizarre war that the Jews made, well, actually that God made for the Jews to save them. So let's see what this is. Let's see, maybe I'll make this a little smaller. What am I doing? Oh, I'm making it smaller. Huh? Yeah, okay. So where are we here? We go. So we talked about the death of Miriam and how Moshe had to hit the rock because there was no water. And then we talked about Aaron passed away and the clouds went away and there came a Canaani, which was the Amalek, and they fought against the Jews. And the Jews prayed and said, and they disguised themselves as Canaanim so that they figured the Jews would pray to God for the wrong thing. And the Jews, now we're going to have another war over here. And here's a weird one. This is a weird one. So let me just explain what's going on over here as far as I understand it. And then we'll look and we'll see what Rashi is going on. The Jews, as they're traveling, they have to go by pass through this place between Moab and Ammon. And in order to pass through this, there was they have to go through like this sort of river or something. We'll look in Rashi and we'll see how it goes. And then they pass through this very sort of narrow passageway between these two big mountains. That's what they're supposed to do. So the Ammonites, they figure now they're going to get the Jews. They're going to hide in these caves up on the mountains. And they're going to throw down on the Jews rocks and arrows and stuff like that. But before the Jews get there, as the two mountains close, and it just happens that opposite these caves are these spitzes that come out, these like points, and the points go into the cave and conveniently crush all of the Ammonites, and they just stay there. And the Jews, this is how I figured it out. We'll see. They pass over the mountains. They can't go through because it's closed. And they've got no idea about what the miracle is. But there's going with the Jews traveling along with the Jews is going the well of Miriam, which is basically this rock that Moshe struck. They should have spoken to, the Selah. And the bear of Miriam, so what happens is that these two mountains come together, and somehow or other the parts of these Amoraim and all their blood, they fall down, and they go into this sort of river, lake that was there, that the Jews were supposed to pass through. But what happens is that the mountains come together, so they don't know anything about it. But the well of Miriam fills up this lake with more water, and the lake that's filled with all these limbs and arms and noses and ears and heads of the Amorites and blood, it starts coming up, and then suddenly the Jews realize, hey, what's going on over here? Where are these coming from? And this makes the Jews aware of the amazing miracle that God did for them. Okay, now let's read it inside. Here we go. No, we did this. This is the fifth portion. We did this here. Where is this? Okay. Here it is. It's the shishi. It's shishi. Here we go. Let's see. Let's scroll down a little bit here. We did this yesterday. This we did yesterday about how Aaron passed away, and how there were the clouds. Actually, we can do the end part here. We didn't do this yesterday. This we didn't do. Okay, let's do this part. Hey, ready? Vayedaber ha'am be'elokim v'Moshe. And the people spoke against God and Moshe. This is right before the story that I told you about the Amorites and the mountains coming together. One second. I'm closing this thing here. I don't know who's calling me up. Okay. Vayedaber Hashem Adam, the people spoke against God and Moshe, and they said, Lama Son of Mitzrayim, why did you bring us out of Egypt to kill us in the desert? Why? What were they complaining about now? Ein lechem, there's no real bread, but ein mayim, and there's no water. V'nafshenu katzei belechem haklokel, and our souls are, how do you say, short? We're going crazy because of this light bread, this, how do you say, thin bread. Let's see what's going on over here. But Elokim Moshe, the people spoke against God and Moshe. Hashva Eved Lakono, they made equal the servant to his master. Lamhel Lisanu, why did you take us out? Why did Lisanu? Why did you take us out? Shneim Shavim. Why did you, Moshe and God, why did you take us out? Both of them are equal, God and Moshe. But nafshenu katzeh af ze lashon katzor nefesh ha'ma'oz. Katzar means I can't stand it. Like somebody is in a very disgusting place. He just wants to get out. My soul, I can't take it. The lechem ha'klokel. So it says with this water. Now, what they said that there's no water, they had water. There just there's a certain amount of time that they didn't have any water before Moshe struck the rock. They say, okay, you're turning off the water all the time. Lechem ha'klokel. Lefi shehaman, this manna nivla bevorim, it was totally absorbed in their bodies. Therefore, it was called klokel. What does it mean? Yitapech b'mayano. So this is we're just eating and eating and eating, and there's no going to the bathroom. Eventually, this stuff is going to it's going to take its toll. It's building up. Kalomer yesh yilud isha shemachnis feino motzi. Is there a human being that can just eat all the time and never go to the bathroom? Well, it doesn't make any sense. So what did God do? They already complained about this before, and God sent them the slove. You remember the slove? So now God says, okay, I'm going to send something else. Vayishlach Hashem ba'amet and nechashim asrufim. God sent the burning snakes. Vayanashchu esa'am, and they bit the people. Vayomas am rav Yisrael, and a lot of people died. As a nechashim asrufim, says Rashi, shesorfim et adam ba'eris shineim, that it burns a person with the poison of their teeth. Snakes. Some things have stingers, some have claws. They have poison in their claws. It says that hawks and those things have poison in their claws. But here these snakes were biting everybody and they're all dying. They bit the people. Yavo nachash shalaka al hotzas diba. God said, let there come snakes that will smite you because you're using your mouth to say bad things about me. V'yifra b'motzi diba. Let come I'm sorry. Wrong, mistake. Yavo nachash, let come the snakes, shalaka al hotza diba. Why snakes? Snakes, going back on the first snake that got Chava into all that trouble. And that snake, originally snakes, it says, used to walk on feet like people. They could talk. The snake was talking to what was it, Eve, Chava. And God said, that's it, you're going to crawl on your stomach because you said all these bad things, the snake. So he says, let snakes come, and they'll pay these Jews off that they're also speaking bad things. In other words, measure for measure. Yavo nachash akol imenu nitma'im lo tam echad. Let come a snake, that all the snakes, the Yavo nachash akol aminim nit amim lo tam echad, that to a snake, everything that a snake eats tastes the same. It says God cursed the snake and said, all your life you're going to eat dirt. In other words, everything tastes the same to a snake, like dirt. V'yifra mikafui tova, and let them, the snakes, pay the Jews off. Pay the Jews for being, ingratitude. What do they call it? Ingracious. Shedavar echad mishtaneh laem lakamatami. What's a snake? A snake, everything a snake eats tastes to a snake like dirt. That was the curse that God gave the snake. Let them pay off the Jews. It's exactly the opposite. To the Jews, any taste that they wanted came out of the manna. And nevertheless, they were complaining about the manna. Okay, in any case, the Jews are really suffering over here. And they realized they made a big mistake. Vayavu alma Moshe vayomer chatanu, we made a sin. We spoke against God and you. Moshe, do us a favor. Hitpalel Hashem v'yaser me'aleinu as a nachash, and get rid of these snakes. Vayitpalel Moshe be'ara'am, and Moshe prayed for the people. Hitpalel Moshe mikan lemisha mevakshim mimenu mechila. From this we learn that any person that is requested to forgive someone else, right? Someone comes up to you and says, I did a sin against you, I did something bad about you, please forgive me. Shelo yehi achzori, don't be cruel and withhold your forgiveness. Vayomer Hashem and Moshe, so Moshe prayed to Hashem and said, Hashem, okay, the people got the point. They swore they're not going to talk anymore bad things. They asked me for forgiveness. Stop the snakes. God said to Moshe, Asel sraf, you make for yourself a serpent, v'simo to'alnes, and put it on a pole. V'yakol neshuch, and anyone that gets bitten, v'ra'o to v'chai, he'll look at it and he will live. Alnes, put it on a pole. Al kolonos, shekorin pirka balaz, mot, and there's a pole. The cane, and also ukanes al giva, like a pole or a flag on a hill. In Isaiah, it's written in Isaiah. Arim nisi, I will lift up my flag or my sign. Sa'u nes, lift up a flag. There's a beautiful mimer from the previous Rebbe about this also. Shu'u gavoa is high for a sign. V'lir'ot korim nes. Anyone who lifts up something high that everyone will see, that's called a nes. A nes is like a banner, like a big pole, a big sign. So what happened? Anyone that got bitten by this, one of these snakes. Now it says that you got bitten. One who gets bitten by the snake dies. Right? Anyone who gets bitten by the snake, he dies. So here's a little bit of a different thing that's going to happen. Now the Jewish people have an antidote to this death. Even if a dog or a donkey, it says that there were white donkeys, the donkey Lubim or something, and they were very dangerous, their bite. Haya nizuk umitno umit nona b'holech. Anyway, anyone who got bitten, they would, I'm sorry, anyone who gets bitten, like by a dog or by one of these wild donkeys, is also suffers terribly, and you can die, no doubt about it. But what a snake bite, mimaheres lamus, it kills more quickly. Lokach, therefore, it says, V'ra'a oto ri'ia ba'alma. All you have to do is just look at the snake, and it will kill, and it will cure. B'neshichas nachash ne'amar, it says v'hebit. It says you should look. Hoya im nashach anachash ebit. What does it say here? It says that, what's it say? It says, Vayomer Hashem l'v'asrav v'ra'oto. Just looking at it will heal. Why? Because they didn't have much time. They couldn't stare at the snake. Okay, we'll see. The Rashi is going to say something a little bit differently in a moment. V'haya im nashach hanachash es ish v'hibit el has. Okay, so v'hibit v'gomer shalo ayam mamaher nashoch hanachash litrapot ela im kein mibit bo b'kavana. Okay, so here, what happens over here? The Jewish people, God said, you have to look at the snake, just raw. It says a snake, right? Here, let's go down a little bit, 1 minute. Next pasuk says, Vayas Moshe nachash nachash vayasimu al nes vaya im nashach an nachash et ish vehibit el nachash. Later on, it says that it's not enough just to look at it casually, that they had to stare at it. So what's going to be? We're going to see what's happening. On one hand, we're saying that this snake healed people quickly just by seeing it. But the fact of the matter is that little quick look that you gave had to be with great intention. We'll see what this intention was, what you had to intend when they looked at the snake. Now, there's one opinion that says that that if you looked at the snake, that still the person would die. He would die, but he would come back to life. Because it doesn't say ra'oto v'lo yamut. It says it would see it and he would not die. It says that he would see it and he would live. So that can also imply that he would actually die and then he would come back to life. Let's see. It says Habit v'haya shaloya mamaher nashocha nachashes litrapot, that it wouldn't heal quickly. Ela im kein mabit bo b'kavana. You had to look at the snake. True, it would heal immediately, but only if you looked at it with great kavana, intention. Why? We'll see. Yomer, the whole thing doesn't make any sense. Yomer was saying, really, you have to look at a snake in order to live. I mean, first of all, a snake is like idolatry. You're not allowed to make a snake. You can't have a picture of a snake, a serpent, whatever. It says, the snake is what kills, and the snake is what. Ella b'zman joya Yisrael mistaklim kalapim mila, when the Jews were looking above, u'mishavdim et libam, and linking their heart to their Father in heaven, then they would be healed. And if not, hayanemukim, they would die. Vayas Moshe nachash anachoshes. We'll see that this makes less sense than what we think in a minute. Vayasimu al nes. So God, Moshe also, he also made the snake. He decided on his own to make it from copper. We'll see in Rashi. He put it on the pole, and anyone, im nashach, a person got bitten by the snake, ima ish at the ish, if the snake bit someone, that he beat el hanachash, he would look at this nachash hanachoshet, and he would live, or he would come back to life. Nachash hanachoshet, why does it say a bronze snake? A brass, what is it, copper snake? Nachoshet, I think, is copper. Even though there's some places it says it's a bronze snake. Lo ne'amar lo la'asoto. God didn't tell Moshe to make it from copper. Ela Omer Moshe, God said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu called Nachash. God called this thing a snake. Why? Because Nachash and Nechoshet, they sort of run in together. So let me tell you a very interesting mimer from the Rebbe. We'll see if we can get to this thing about the river. I don't know if we will. The Rebbe asked a question, the Alter Rebbe asked a question, and it's a mimer in Likkutei Torah. What did Moshe have to make a snake for? He says, no, it wasn't the snake that healed people. People would look up at the snake, and they would look not at the snake, they would look like in the direction of the snake. They would really be looking at God. So why'd you have to make a snake? Moshe could have just told everybody, look up. I mean, for sure, a person gets bitten, he'll do anything to get healed. So Moshe could have said, look, make an arrow pointing up, right? Make a hand pointing up in the air. What did he have to make a snake for? And everybody looked at the snake, and then they got better. So the Alter Rebbe says, from here we can learn a very, very amazing lesson. And that is that the snakes that they sent, these serpents, were really very, very, very good. Very good. And the snakes contained in them treasures of good that could never be attained otherwise. What does this mean? That's the Rebbe gives an example, and you can view this as an example in everything. In other words, anytime that, God forbid, a bad thing happens to a person, he can understand that really the source of this bad thing comes from a very high place, and the bad thing contains in it treasures of blessing and good you would never imagine. And the Rebbe brings the well-known story, that I'll just repeat it to you again, about Nachum Ish Gamzu. And Nachum Ish Gamzu, the story goes that he was, first of all, he was one of the teachers of Rabbi Akiva. We're going to get to that. And he was a very great holy man. And one time there was a decree from Rome on the Jewish people that made life very hard. I know they couldn't learn Torah, whatever the decree was. They were not lacking ingenuity in making decrees against the Jews. So they sent Nachum Ish Gamzu to Rome to plead the case of the Jews. And they gave him a box full of diamonds, precious gems, which the king needs precious gems. He's lacking, like an Eskimo is lacking, snowballs or something. I mean, the king has all the money he wants, but they did it for a gesture to show how much they like the king. They figure put the king in a good mood. A person always appreciates a little more money. So maybe it's not exactly the same thing as snowballs to the Eskimos, but the king had billions and billions and trillions of dollars in gems, and they brought him like $1 million worth of gems. Good. So Nachum Ish Gamzu, he's traveling to the king, and he stops off in an inn, and the owner of the inn waits for him to go to sleep, steals the box, takes all the diamonds, fills the box up with dirt, and puts it down where it was. And Nachum Ish Gamzu wakes up in the morning, pays the bill, and travels to the king. Little does he know, this box is filled with dirt. So he goes in front of the king and says, Your Majesty, I have a request from the Jewish people. And the king said, no, get it over with. Come on, I haven't got any time for you Jews. He's making trouble for me. And so he said, here, Your Majesty, here is a gift from the Jewish people to you. And he opens up the box, with this big flurry, and there it's just filled with dirt. And the king said, what is this? And Nachum Ish Gamzu says, Gamzu Latova. He says to himself, this is good. Somehow or other, this is the best. Gamzu Latova. Also, this is good. And suddenly comes along Elijah the prophet, dressed as a very honorable person. The king doesn't ask, how did this guy get in the palace? But the king must have been flustered by the seeing this Jew bring him a box full of dirt. and comes in, and Eliyahu Navi looked so impressive that he said to the king, looked at him and said, Your Majesty, this Jew is obviously very timid, but I happen to know that this is the dirt that Abraham, his forefather, used against his enemies. You know, the whole world was against Abraham. And Abraham, he survived and he defeated all his enemies. This is the dirt. You take this dirt and you throw it, and it turns into all sorts of darts and arrows. And so the king says, let's try it. So he brings a board or something like that and he throws it. And sure enough, so the king goes against his enemies and says, okay, I'm challenging all whatever's the next door neighbors, whatever, to the neighboring country to a war. And they bring all their warriors. And he, shalom. And he throws these things at them, and they, of course, they all stick exactly in their pressure points or whatever. And the king said, this is the best gift I've ever gotten in my life. This is fantastic. You Jews are just the greatest people. Take anything you want. Go down to the treasure houses, take anything you want. So Nachum Ish Gamzu goes down and he takes just this decree and he tears it up. That's all. And the king says, fill up 10 cases of diamonds and rubies and things like that and send them back. This dirt is great. Okay, so then there's a continuation of the main thing is the Alter Rebbe says, look at this miracle. What happened? If he would have gone just with the diamonds, so it wouldn't have been any big thing with diamonds. The king is lacking diamonds. But because the person filled with dirt, which, I mean, simply meaning was the worst thing that could possibly happen to him. Okay, now if the king made one decree against the Jews, he would, certainly kill Nachum Ish Gamzu and make 100 decrees against the Jews. They're trying to make fun of him. So it was the worst thing. But exactly the opposite. If it would have been diamonds, it's a big doubt if he would have gotten his way. But now that they were dirt, which is worse, apparently, it was a big blessing. It says the Alter Rebbe, the reason that it happened was because he said Gamzu Latova, because his attitude was thinking good. So his good thought is what brought, and the Alter Rebbe says that because he was a big tzaddik, so it happened automatically and immediately, but still it's a lesson to all of us. That's the way he wrote in the Kuti Torah, not just tell us nice stories and the greatness and praise the greatness of Nachum Ish Gamzu, to tell us also that if we think good, it will be good. Maybe it won't be to that level of good. Maybe it'll be better. Who knows? But that's the important thing that's why he put the serpent on the pole, to show that the bad things that happen to us, the serpents that were biting everybody, the bad things really contain in them higher blessings than if these bad things wouldn't have happened. And that what was the blessing? They all looked up toward God. They stopped complaining about God, which is a very amazing thing. To stop complaining is a very big blessing, one of the biggest blessings of all. So we won't have time to do the story about this, but you'll do it on Shabbos. You'll read it before Shabbos. You see what the Eshed is the